Hi everybody, this is Cindy from Ideas Times 2. Welcome back to our channel. I had some issues with sound earlier and didn't know until it was already uploaded and everybody put in their comments that there was no sound. So I'm doing this as a voiceover. So hopefully I'll be able to remember what I said and the steps. But what we're going to do today is make a trifold signature cover. I am making this lavender journal, and I know it's really not the season for lavender, but I had ordered this fabric, this gorgeous fabric with lavender on it, and it never came and never came and never came. And so it finally arrived, and everybody else is making fall journals. So I'm a little off the mark on this, but the fabric was so pretty, I didn't want to wait until spring. So for this trifold, I'm going to use it to as a cover for the third signature for this journal that I started working on with you yesterday. And so I have all the papers ready to go, and they're all coffee stained and purple Kool-Aid stained, and those are ready to go. I'm not going to embellish it. I'm just going to make the cover, and the cover will have pockets and tags and all sorts of that kind of stuff. And so this is what I have left over from the other two signatures. I have these little file folders and a couple of journaling cards. I use postcards from Victoria Designs for those, and I need to make some pockets or something to put those in. And then of course I'll have to make a few other little things, but I'm just about done and ready to start binding this journal. So what I did already, I pre-cut 3 pieces of double-sided cardstock, and this paper is from Stamperia, or Stamperia, depending on how you choose to pronounce it. I like Stamperia better, so that's how I pronounce it. And this paper is absolutely gorgeous. And so I've already cut it down to 9 by, well, the front cover is 9 by 5 7/8. The other 2 pieces are 9 by 5 3/4, and the reason those are smaller is because when it's folded, I want to make sure that the paper doesn't kind of get caught on itself, and it folds neatly. So that's what you need: 3 pieces of double-sided cardstock, 9 inches, or the height of your journal, and 1 piece a little shorter than the width of your journal, and then the other 2 pieces a little shorter than that in width. So mine were 9 by 5 7/8, and then 2 pieces were 9 by 5 3/4. So you're also going to need some fabric, a muslin or something works great. And that should be cut to about 9 inches by 1 inch, and 2 pieces of fabric, 9 by 1, and then 2 pieces of paper. I'm using coffee stain paper. That is also 9 by 1. And so you can see this is what I'm using. It's the same fabric that I am using for the spine of my journal, and it's kind of a cotton duck, or not really quite a cotton duck. It actually unravels a lot easier than cotton duck, but it's kind of thick. But I wanted to use the same fabric, and so what I'm doing here is gluing. I'm using a Fabri-Tac, and the cover, the piece of paper you want to be the cover of your trifold, needs to be on the right side. And so the lavender in the picture is going to be my cover. And so that goes on the right. And so I'm putting Fabri-Tac on there, and because I want to make sure it doesn't get gloppy or soak through my fabric, I'm just spreading it out a little bit just to make sure that it's not, doesn't get gloopy. And then leaving, maybe 1/8 of an inch between the two pieces of cardstock. I'm going to glue the fabric down. And you'll see I just accidentally moved that paper on the left, so be careful. You don't want it to get crooked, so you want to make sure that stays about 1 inch apart. 1/8 of an inch apart, obviously. So you'll want on the outside, between the cover and the middle piece, you'll want to use fabric. Make sure before that glue is dry that that you've left enough room for that to fold easily. And one thing about using the Fabri-Tac in the tube, it makes it really easy to go back in and make sure that you have glue all the way down. And so obviously I missed a few little places there, and I want to make sure that it's all good, but I don't want it to get gloppy. I don't want that glue to show through. So that is the front and the middle piece. And now I'm going to attach that third piece to get our trifold. That fabric really, really unravels so easily, but it's really pretty. So on that third piece, that is going to actually flip the other direction, so that will be on the inside. So I'm going to use paper for that one, and like I said earlier, this is just a 1 inch wide piece of coffee stained paper. You can use whatever kind of paper you want. You can even use fabric if you want to do fabric on both sides. But the reason I'm not is because the fabric I did use is a little thick, and I thought using fabric on both sides would be a little too thick, and it would be difficult to fold. So if you're using a lightweight muslin or cotton, then I think you could easily use fabric on both sides. So I'm going to do the same thing on that, about 1/8 of an inch apart, scant 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to glue, this time I'm going to glue the paper, and because that left piece is going to fold back, you're going to want to glue it down with the, forming a V. So I'm just using Fabri-Tac again. And I usually try to keep it off of the actual fold because the fold will be between the paper, and so just to avoid getting extra glue everywhere. That little pen is really handy. I found that at Walmart. So you can see the fold is going in the crack, in that little space between the two pieces of paper. And make sure that's on there well and everything folds. So that's how it's going to fold. The cover will open there, and then the signature will go in between, and then that flips out, and I'm going to add pockets or envelopes or something. I don't, I'm not 100% sure what is going to go everywhere. So now I'm going to flip it over, and then on the right side, on the side, opposite the paper, now I'm going to put fabric on that fold. And so that was, just an inch wide, and the height of your journal. Mine is a 9x6, so I want it a little bigger than my signature, but not much. I want to make sure it fits in the cover. Haven't made the cover yet, so it's going to be okay whatever I do here. And so fix that down, make sure that the glue gets all the way to the edge, but you don't want it to be gloopy. Well, it looks like I missed a spot. It looks like I missed a lot of spots. I just love that fabric. I had to buy a yard, so I have a ton left. I've already made quite a few things with it, but now I'll have to wait until spring and do a few more in the spring. So now on the other side, the side opposite the fabric, I'm going to put paper down on that side. Just 1 inch wide by the height of your little signature cover. But like I said, you can use fabric on both sides if you're using something light, fairly lightweight, or if you want to use paper on both sides, that's fine too. And so just like on the other side, I'm going to glue that, make sure the fold is, kind of in that little space between the two pieces of paper. Can't remember if I told you, I got that Fabri-Tac pen at Walmart, and it was, I don't know, maybe $3.50. Definitely worth it. It's got a nice fine tip on it, so that you can get just a nice bead without, any mess. Now, I did not ink the edges of my cardstock, and the rest of the journal, pretty much everything is inked, kind of going for that vintage look. So I am going to go ahead and ink my edges at some point. So there you go, a simple trifold. Just 2 hinges, one forward and one backwards, and I still have lots of space to add some pockets. So I need to trim those edges. I always cut everything a little too long when I'm doing things like making these hinges, because I'd rather trim the edges than have something be too short. So now that the glue is drying, it'll fold nice and flat. The paper is gorgeous. It's, I think I already told you, Stamperia. I picked it up on Amazon. And so now it's time to start putting the pockets and whatnot in. And so these are just 3 pieces of, the pieces that I cut off the top of the 3 pieces that I used to make the trifold. And I think I'm going to go ahead and make 2 pockets for the inside of the front cover. The piece in the middle I'm going to leave blank because I don't want it to get too thick, since that's where the journal is going. And the pockets, I'm not going to even bother to put gussets on them because I want to be mindful of the thickness. I don't want everything to get too bulky when it's actually a signature. So need to trim these down, but I want to make sure they're the same width. And so I just need to cut, I think, 1.5 inches or so off of there. So for these, I think I'm going to go ahead and ink the edges on these. I'm going to add a thumb notch. I'm trying to decide if I like which direction I like them. And so that was what I decided on. And it's because of the lace. Going the other direction, the lace was, I don't know. But, I try not to waste paper, so I'm just using the offcuts to get started with the pockets and whatnot. So I think those look pretty good. Just need a little bit of ink. Since everything else in the other 2 signatures is inked, I want to stay consistent. So, and I find inking cardstock to be very, almost therapeutic. I find it very relaxing. Even watching other people ink cardstock, I find very relaxing. But hopefully it's not too boring for you to watch me ink more paper. Since yesterday I just did the craft with me, there was a lot of inking, cutting and inking. So I want to make sure that that top pocket is not too close to the top of the trifold, because then you can't really put anything in the pocket. It'll stick out the top. So this paper pad came with a lot, as typical with Stamperia, comes with a lot of cutouts and various cards and tags and that. So I think that's what I'm going to put in those 2 pockets in the front. Got to make sure that everything is even. Don't want to, I hate it when I go back and I'm looking through something and the glue is dry and I think I'm done and something is crooked. and it's happened to me before, but I, um, and I know it's a junk journal. It doesn't have to be perfect, and art is maybe imperfect in its imperfection, but I'm a little OCD about stuff like that. I want everything to be neat and tidy. So not a lot of room in those pockets without the gusset, but enough room to put a tag and maybe some little cutouts or cut aparts. But I don't want it to be too bulky. So I'm going to leave that middle section blank. And then now I need to decide what to put on this next one. And I don't want it to be two pockets again. So I think I'm going to put in a large side tuck, one that takes up most of the page. And no, not that paper, for sure. So what else is in that pack? So you can see lots of cut aparts, and that's a beautiful piece of paper. They're all pretty. What am I saying? They're all pretty. But I think I'm going to use the back cover. So I want this to be a big tuck. Someplace you can put cards or photographs or love letters. So I'm going to cut that. I could have eyeballed it, but I'm going to cut that to 8 inches. So the top will be 1 inch. That little, at the top and the bottom, the angle is to 2 inches on the bottom. And it's kind of plain, so I'm going to have to put something else on there. I don't know what. Maybe another pocket. Of course, I'm talking as if I don't know what I'm putting there, since it's already done. I do know what I put there. I kind of wish I had sewn the edges and then glued it on after I sewed it, but I did so much sewing in the other two signatures, and I do like to be consistent, but everything is just getting glued in, and I think it looks fine. I like to sew stuff in. I like the look of sewing. And my fabric is a little crooked on there, so I have it's straight on the bottom, but it looks crooked because the fabric is a little crooked. My Ravelly fabric. It's starting to look pretty good though. A lot of glue on my fingers with this project. So now I need to decide. I am going to put a little pocket there. And I'm going to just put a small tag. So it doesn't need to be anything super fancy. I think that looks pretty good on there. I think it's too tall though. So I'm going to have to cut it down. I'm using my glue eraser. If you don't have one of those, you need to get one. They are a lifesaver. I got mine on Amazon. I think it was like $1.50. So back to the pocket. That I decided was off scale a little bit, needed to be cut down. So I think that looks better. So I'm going to put a thumb notch in there, but I'm using a smaller punch than I did on the other two pockets, just because of scale. And ink that up. Just a little bead of glue around the three edges. Yeah, I don't know what, everybody has different favorites for glue. I really like Fabri-Tac. Fabri-Fix is almost the same thing, made by the same company, Beacon. I think it might need a little embellishing, but I'll come back to that later. I have no idea what I'm going to put inside that pocket. So that's the inside. And I think it looks pretty good. All right, so flip that over. There's the front, and I have two more sides to do something with. And I need to make something to put those postcards in. They do not look good in this front pocket, as you can see. It's just not right. So I need to make something else to put in the pocket, in those pockets. And I need to make something fairly large for those postcards. Those postcards are from Victoria Designs. And, I still have these 2 mini file folders. I have no idea what to do with them. I ink them up, I embellish them just a little bit, but I have no idea what I'm going to do with them. And so they've not made it into any of the signatures yet. They're just just hanging out on my desk. So I've got a bunch of stuff in the drawers. I know something's going to work. So thinking a policy envelope. I picked some up at Tuesday morning before they went out of business. I was very fortunate to have 2 Tuesday mornings, one near my house and one across the street from my work. Unfortunately, though, they both went out of business. So I'm going to use this policy envelope. I thought I had some small ones, half size, but I couldn't find them. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this one down. They're great. I don't remember the brand of those, but they're nice and sturdy. They're really nice. But I'm going to cut it, and so I miscut it here. It should be smaller, so I have to come back and do it again. And I'm just going to put it at the top, because that picture down on the bottom, I don't want to cover it up. So I want to, instead of just gluing the bottom or sewing it shut, I want it to be, to look like it was always that size. So that's what I'm doing, and I know I'm off, out of frame there. And so I do all this work, and then I have to do it again. I, thought I eyeballed it to the right size, but it's obviously not, and you'll see that in a second. Totally misjudged. I've got to get out the paper cutter again. That's better. So I'm just cutting that about 1 inch or so on the fold. I'm going to cut that off. Did my nails this morning. Painted them this metallic silver. I thought it'd be fun. But then, of course, I turned around and started crafting. So I already have to go back and fix a couple of nails. I don't know why I bothered. So I'm just rounding that on the corners. So I fold it over, and it should look like it was always that way. And what I cut off, I'll be able to save and use later as a pocket or a tuck spot or something in a different journal. And just need to grab my bone folder, make sure that's pressed nice and neat. and then glue it down. See, so much better. And it's exactly the right size for the journaling cards that I made. Just grab my glue stick. Which I think my glue stick was kind of dry, so it didn't stick very well. So I'm going to give it another little shot of ink before I glue that down. Want to make sure I don't miss any of the edges. And I've got to fix the glue on that one. Back to the Fabri-Tac. I made such a mess with the glue today. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that down, but I'm going to put glue on just the two sides and the bottom so that there's room on the top for as another pocket if I want to make a tag. I haven't made one yet, so that's an option to put a nice big tag in there. When I'm gluing just three sides, I always make sure I put my hand on the side that, so I hold it on the side that I don't want to put the glue. And so there's that little extra pocket on the top. I like fibers, sari silk and yarn and ribbons and things, and so I like to have them popping up outside, the top and the sides of the journal. So I might make a tag to go in there. So that's the perfect spot for those postcards that I didn't know where I was going to put. So I'm just going to leave that bottom. I think it is so pretty. And I have just that one side left, but it's already about 40 minutes. I generally don't like my videos to be longer than 30. So I have no idea what I'm going to put on that last section. And see, those are my thinking fingers. Maybe a tuck spot. I can just tuck the file folders in. I could even, sew the sides and put it in there as a pocket. I think the file folders are so cute, but I never quite know what to do with them. So there's a large index card that I coffee stained and put a little collage on. And I actually made it to put in a pocket on the inside back cover of the cover. But it does fit there pretty well. But I think I'm going to save it for it's for its intended purpose. So I think since we've already been at this for 40 minutes, I'm just going to leave that last section blank and come back to it. So there you go. There's a trifold. The fabric is on the outside of both of the folds, and there are the two signatures that were finished, and then the third signature right there. It's a little bigger than I had initially intended. I always have a tendency to go overboard, but there you go. When I finish the cover, when I'm all done, I'll come back and show you what it looks like. I am really happy with the way this has turned out so far. So thank you for spending some time with me today. I forgot to mention this is not an original idea. I got this idea from Wendy at Wendy's Journal Adventures. And she does a lot of botanicals and a lot of flippy kinds of things. And I got this idea from her. Modified it a little bit because that's what I do. That's what we all do, right? As makers. But I thought it was a good idea. So I think that's about it. Thank you for joining me today. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram and our Etsy shop, and the link for that is down below. This journal will eventually, hopefully this week, be in the shop. It's been a good weekend for crafting, but it's back to work tomorrow. So I've started the cover, but I'm not done. So if you have not subscribed, please do so. If you want to get notifications, you just click on the bell, and that will let you know when we have new videos. Our Facebook group doesn't have a lot of people yet, but we're slowly but surely building up. We do a lot of giveaways and challenges, and we just started a RAK, Random Act of Kindness list. So if you want to participate with that, you can visit us on Facebook at Ideas Times 2. We love our subscribers and appreciate you all so much. So thank you. And I have no idea what I'm talking about, what my hands are doing on there. So, thank you for watching.